Hello and welcome to our Saturday stream. I'm Josh, and this is our map and image creation for Fantasy Grounds Unity. Here we go over all of the art-related news as well as demonstrations and tutorials on how to use all of the great tools that we have for creating maps inside of Fantasy Grounds Unity. So thanks everyone for joining me here today. I hope everyone's having a wonderful week. It's exceptionally nice weather here, so hopefully it is wherever you are in the world today. And so this month's new art pack releases are going to be a couple of Western art packs, one for interiors and one for exteriors. We had a brief overview of those last week, and yeah, I'm not exactly sure when those are going to be actually pushed out, but they will be sometime this month. Last week we started working on a tavern, actually, I believe. This one, and we created this little like portal thing. And I'm gonna rebuild some of this, and we're gonna continue to work on this. I think I'm gonna redo this. This is a little bit too angular for me. I want it to be a little bit more shapely. And we're gonna create a nice little transition in through here. As well as the area in which the portal is going to send us. We also have to still put in our doors and whatnot. So yeah, we should get a lot of cool new image creation stuff done today, which should be great. We're going to be continuing exploring all the new painting tools that has been put together in the latest update and continues to get refined with each new additional update. So please get in there and test out these tools. Let us know if you find any bugs or if there's anything that you could see as being improved upon. We certainly would love to hear from you. So the easiest way for me to kind of get in here and start to rearrange some of this stuff is I'm just going to click on the wall section here. We'll go into our painting tools, and you can see here we have all of this selected here. I can double click this and it's going to select all of the stroke that is once created with this. But before I delete it, what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to grab this image here. We should be able to get it. There we have it. And this is the way I can use exactly the same stroke that we used last time. And I'm going to make sure that I have my fill turned off for this. And I think I'm actually going to make it a little bit smaller here. And what I'll do now is switch back over. Now that I have that loaded, this is still selected, and I can just hit delete, and that's going to remove that for us. Moving back over into my line tool, I can now begin to paint this out whichever way that I see is going to be working the best for me here. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to start moving this around a little bit. I'm going to create some more points so I can do a little bit more of a varied kind of thing here. Something that's going to feel a little bit more natural. And with this new system, one of the great things that we can do is move these things around after the fact. So sometimes when I'm creating this stuff, I just want to create additional kind of points that I can kind of move around. And we can, as you can see here, we can now manipulate this to begin to create whatever shape that we decide is going to fill in these areas a little bit better for us. I think we'll create some little areas here, something like this. And maybe we'll make this a little bit more rounded here at the end. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And now what I can actually go into is I can go into the floor here and we can do the same thing. I'm just going to pull these up and we'll fill in these little gaps for our ground as well. You can certainly see how all of this is going to interact so much easier with these systems. And I think I'm going to bring this in so we'll have it kind of going in and underneath here a little bit. Some of these ones that are a little bit hidden, we can kind of pull these out, get a little bit more out of them. And this kind of just adds so much to it here. And what I can actually do is, because we're going to be using a lot of these same kind of assets here, I'm going to switch over to my stamp tool right now, and I can actually come in here and I should be able to grab these as well. It sometimes gets a little bit funky in here. But we can just grab, we'll just go into our assets rather than mess around with this for too much. And I'll just type in, not dead tier, dead tree. And we can grab some of these elements here. And I'm actually going to come up, this is where our water is, or our actual kind of portal here. And I'm going to hold down Control and use my mouse wheel to kind of change this. And kind of build this up and around it a little bit here. And we can switch back over, and I'm just going to move these back, put these back kind of where they should be along these walls here. I think we'll even move it down, something like this. Excellent. I'm going to grab some more of these like vines and whatnot, and we'll add some to the top here. That looks pretty good. This is from the Jungle Map Pack 2. And we'll just kind of place some things along here as well. And we can even go down a little bit lower. We'll do some on top of this other stuff. Get a little bit more continuity between them. And we can even, depending on where certain elements are, let's see here. We might want to put some like on these. Get some nice layered kind of content there. We might want to even add in some rocks and whatnot, because we're going to build this out a little bit. We're gonna make this transition a little bit more less abrupt. We should put it that way. Oh, thanks so much, Bone Shooter. I'm so happy to hear that. And we can actually come in and grab some more mushrooms, maybe. Oh, actually, let's just do some rocks. Probably rock is not the best search that I can do. There's going to be lots of rock oriented stuff here. I think what we'll do is kind of do something maybe from the, let's go into the Goblin map pack here. The Goblin Camp. And now what I'll do is I'll type in rock, and now we're going to get some of these rocks that are going to kind of go a little bit more with this wall, and that's where this particular wall comes from. So I can grab some of these elements here, and what I'm going to do is I'm right here on the wall section. I'm just going to, well, place some of these around here. And we can use a couple of different shapes here. And I'm just going to add in these to make it feel as though there's this like transition, as you can see, from one element to the next. We can do some smaller ones as well. It looks like this ground is a little bit. What I think I'll actually do is remove a section of this because we're going to do like this secret wall. And we can actually kind of take out this section and then we could build in our own that we can then remove if we so wish. We might even want to place a few like this out around these areas. And then what I'll do is I'll go down into these. We can grab, let's actually go into our underground art pack now. And then I'll add in some additional kind of rocks over here as well. And again, I'm just going to type in rock. We also have some stalagmites and stalactites and whatnot in here. And we have this great rock brush, which we can actually layer in, which I oftentimes would like to layer in right at the bottom here. Oh, so we have a question here. Is there a specific beginner's tutorial for map generation for Fantasy Grounds you can suggest? Yeah, we do it several times on this stream. There's also, I believe, some on the YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Otherwise, if you have any questions whatsoever, I'm more than happy. I'm here every Saturday. I almost said Thursday for some reason. Every Saturday from 3 p.m. to we run till just about 6. And so, if you run into any questions or if you have any sort of issues whatsoever, I'm more than happy to help you with those. But yeah, there should be several starter kind of tutorials on all of the different tools and whatnot that you can use. Let's actually remove that. We'll go into our decorations, and we have all of these like vines and things, mushrooms. We have these great stalagmites that we can actually kind of place around out here as well. And once we come in here, we start adding in our shadow content. This is going to really feel like a much closer representation to some of this other stuff. Let's actually grab some of these roots and things as well. These things are great, and what we can actually do is we can come down into either on our floor here, and we can do some of these kind of coming out from underneath this kind of stuff here. Make this feel like that there is like this lots of life. And I'm just going to flip it so that it's a little bit different. We can actually come in here and I can line this up with some of these other ones. And so you can see that kind of makes it feel as though that those are additional kind of elements coming off of there. And now let's go back. We can grab some of these rocks. And I'm just going to do some, we can go into maybe something like here. This is just below the wall layer here. And I can kind of do some like coming out from underneath. And we can always switch over and I can grab, let's see, maybe move this over here. We can move this one here. I just don't want this to feel as though that there's like empty space here, and I'll do some on top. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. These tools, I think, are some of the most robust out there, and all included right inside of Fantasy Grounds. Awesome. So now what we can do is kind of build maybe some of this other stuff. What do you guys think we should add in addition to this? Once we get this kind of finished up here, we'll move on to create a section over here, which is where this portal will kind of go into. Maybe we'll create another kind of portal over here, but we'll create it a little bit differently. And then we can create a nice like outdoor kind of scene. Yeah, we can go onto our floor here and we'll stamp out a little bit of some texture variation in here. We can even do some in here. Add to some of this other stuff that we've kind of done there. And I'm actually going to grab, let's go into our adjust colors. This is where we have a lot of these shadows created. We switch over to our effects layer. I'm just going to go to reveal area, and we can kind of just kind of draw out some of these like darker areas. We'll make this kind of feel as though the light is emanating out from here. We can do this a couple of different ways. We can actually create some light sources in here, which we'll certainly do here in a minute. I'm just going to grab and do a little bit of shadow here. And now let's switch over. Let's turn our lights on. And you can see we have some nice lights set up over in here, but let's do one in here as well. So we'll switch to our line of sight layer that we've created. And I'm going to go to add light, and I'm just going to drop one right in there, something like this. But let's make it a little bit like green. So we'll switch over to our select light tab here, and we'll just select this guy. And we're going to make this maybe something, maybe a little bit more yellow, but a little bit green, something like this, which will be great. And we can, I'm actually going to change my fall off here to something along these lines. Give it this nice kind of feeling here. And so when we switch over, we'll see this is how the players are actually going to see this environment. Very, very cool. And if we have this as an open stairway, we might want to have a little bit of an ambient light coming down from there as well. So let's switch back over and we can put something here. And what I'll do is I'll actually take down my bright to 0. Oh, we want to select this first. Just so that it's a very, very subtle kind of light source down here. And let's change this to something like 6. Or maybe we'll just do like 1 here, but we'll increase that fall off. Or maybe we'll do 2. Yeah, something like that. And what I'll do is I'll switch over to my line of sight here. You can see we have our walls all done for us as we've created them. What I'm actually going to do, instead of making this, well, I guess we should probably do it a wall. So I'm just going to do this like that. Perfect. And now when we switch over and we check it out, you can see we got this little bit of light, and we can even actually probably put like a shadow caster along here or something as well, if we really wanted to. But now we have this little bit of ambient light that might be coming down from the top of the staircase. We might even want to turn it down a little bit. So let's switch over. Let's grab this guy, and we can just go into our color area. And one of the easiest ways to adjust the brightness is just with the alpha channel. So we can just kind of lower this down a little bit. Excellent. Turn that off for now. And things are looking pretty good here. So let's turn these off so that we can just have a better kind of view of everything. And we can put in a couple of doors over here. So what I can actually do is just type in door. And this is going to bring up all the different doors and all the different art packs. And we can just grab maybe something like this. This is from Victorian, Abandoned Places, Modern Industrial. Or maybe we'll grab something like this. And again, I'll switch over to my stamp tool. And I'm going to do this right on my wall layer. And I'm going to make this, we'll turn off the aspect lock ratio. And I'm just going to make it 1 wide. And let's flip it this way. And I can hold down Control, and that's going to snap it right to the grid for me. And I'm just going to put that right in there. And then I'm going to flip it horizontally. And we'll do one right there. What I'll actually do is I'm going to build a door jamb here in a second. And then we can rotate it. Let's do it here as well for a little bit of continuity. Excellent. And we'll leave everything else pretty open here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in board. And this is going to bring up all kinds of different, these kind of like board pieces and whatnot. So I'm just going to grab something like this. And I'm going to shrink this down to an appropriate size. And what I'll do is I'll actually grab my tint here. And I'm going to grab this little color picker. And we'll do something like this. It's going to bring it to a little bit more of a similar kind of feel here. And again, we'll just rotate it, and I'm going to just drop one in here. And back on my wall layer here, we'll jump over here. And we can do a little end cap here as well, where we don't have quite the same line. So I'm going to switch back over to here, and I'm going to switch to my stroke tool here. I'll bring this down to something like this. We want that. And I'm just going to double click and make a little line here. And we'll do the same right here. This is just going to bring it in line with everything else. Great. Now let's switch over to our line of sight area here. And we'll put in these doors. As you can see right now, we just have our lines going right across, and this one's kind of open here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my door, and I'm going to grab the rectangle. And I'm actually going to separate this. I'm going to do two separate doors here. So I'm just going to drag this out to something like this. And then we'll snap it right in here like that. And when you can see now, this is one of the new updates. I don't know if this is live yet. I always work in the test channel, but now this cuts out for you. So you no longer have to worry about that. You can just pull out a door or whatnot, and it will illuminate or eliminate whatever is inside of there. And I'll do the same here. Oh, thanks, Bryce. And I'm just going to drag out here. And we'll do the same like this. And I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit and just snap this right to it. And I'm just going to drag this. I'm actually going to move it to there. And here, what I'll actually do is switch over to my wall tool, and we'll snap it to right there. Yeah, it looks like we got an extra wall over here. It looks like something changed. Let me move this. It looks a little bit weird. Not sure how that happened. Let's all I'm gonna do is remove this one. So I'm just gonna go to the remove point. No, I don't want to do that. Hit Control Z. I want to delete it. And then I'll re-snap those together. Move this over to where I think it should be. And then I'll just redraw that line. Now, if you hold down Shift, it will stay. You have to go in 45 or 90-degree increments. And there we have it. Good as new. Oh, yeah, exactly. I completely agree. So we can do exactly the same thing over here. We can add in our walls for this area. But all we have to do is we can go to a toggleable wall here. And what we can actually do is we'll just go right across here. We might have to do that as a box. So the easiest way to do this, let me double click this, and we'll just hit delete. I'm actually going to go to wall and do a rectangle, and then we'll just do this to create these 2 points. And while I'm here, I might as well just do this as well. And I use the middle mouse button to drag around here. And I'm going to go right across here. And then we can just grab these end bits and delete them. Perfect. Excellent. So now let's start building where this is going to lead, where this will be ending up our players at. So what we'll do is I'm just going to come all the way out here, and we'll go back into our floor section here and go into our painting. And I'm going to go turn off my stroke, and I'm going to turn on my fill here. And we're going to go into the 2019, not module, 2019 art package. Go into these tiles, and I'm going to grab one of these. Let's actually grab this grass here. And I'm just going to drag out a rather large little area over here. Now this is because we have our lighting system. This is going to be dark, so we're going to have to like create our own lighting because we don't want to actually yeah, it will. You're correct. If you you can see that if we do it, let's go in here. Like here, it did it automatically for me. If I was a little bit more cautious, we should actually move that up. Actually, not that. Not like that. Hmm. Let's get rid of that. I guess I should have moved that first. This is weird. Very bizarre. There we go. Yeah, the magnetic, it'll snap together when you get close to them. Yeah, if you hold down, so all you have to do when you're doing that, so if let's go into our line of sight line here. So if I start with, I can hold down control and it will snap to the grid. And then if I hold down shift, it'll only go in 45 or 90 degrees. And control will snap to the grid. All right, so now that we have our little area over here that we're going to kind of go to, and one of the great ways about this new system is that if I decide that I need to change the size of this area over here, or I can even snap it to the grid as well, holding down control, but I can just enlarge this to whatever size that I wish. Oh no, that's fine. Interrupt all you'd like. I'm more than happy to go off on those or explain something. So, and if I do something as well, um, if I do something and you're not exactly sure how I do it or what combination of keys I use, just let me know. And so what I'm actually going to do in this little area over here is I'm going to add in some additional ground texture to this. And I'm going to switch back over to, well, let's use the round. And I'm just going to switch out the fill here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag out some sections here. So we can drag out some like dirt patches, something like this. And I'm going to switch over to the add, and so I can begin to add in these elements. We can kind of do some different shapes here. And what I'm actually going to do is just create a couple of these kind of shapes, and then we can switch back over. And I'm going to change these a little bit. Just make them a little bit more. And we'll make these a little bit less like that. And bring these over so things are a little bit not quite so. Let's grab this. Oh, great. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So let's switch over, and I'm going to hold down F, and I'm going to fade out some of these edges here. And now I can come back in, and we can make some further adjustments here. Make sure that this is a little bit smoother, like over here. And I can also come back in, and I'm going to hold down A, and I'm just going to take down the alpha channel here a little bit. And we can make some nice little variations here. I can also go back into my decorations here, and what I'll actually do is go up one level and switch to my stamp tool, and then I can grab some of these other. Yep, so you hold F and you use your mouse wheel while you're in the Edit Fill tab. So you just hover over the area, And if you hold F, it will fade the elements in and out. So if I switch back to this layer, you can see I can fade those edges of my fill. And that's just holding F and scrolling the mouse wheel. I can also hold down R, G, and B and change their color, the red, green, and blue channels. I can hold down A and make its opacity greater or less by doing that as well. And they're all listed right here as well. We can even change, if I hold down Shift, you can see that I can change the rotation of the fill that's inside, and I can even drag the fill around. If I hold down Control in the mouse wheel, I can actually change the size of the texture inside as well. So lots and lots of really cool ways that we can interact with this and do lots of really cool and fun stuff. You can really literally kind of paint out anything that you wish. In fact, in one of the previous, I think that it's down here. We actually built, I think it's a Victorian, I think it's this one. Is it this one? No. Nope. I don't remember what the actual map that it was that we built. We actually built some pieces of furniture just with fills and whatnot. Here it is. I never named it, but we built some of these pieces of furniture just with fills and textures and whatnot as a nice little demonstration here. So if we go into our painting tab here, and I believe it is this layer. Nope, that's the rug. See, we also built this rug. So here's the couch here. So what you can actually see here is we could change this. So you really are able to do pretty much whatever you want to now inside of Fantasy Grounds. It's really a very advanced kind of creation system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my stamp tool now. I'm going to grab some of these forest floors. Just these like nice textures like sticks and leaves and whatnot. And again, I'm going to use my mouse wheel while holding down A, and that's going to change the opacity of that. And then I'm just going to start to stamp this around a little bit. And again, let's just lower that down a little. We have some effects layers that are changing the colors and whatnot, as you can see, which is why you're going to see a little bit of alteration between the preview image and what's going on. So we'll build up a little bit of something like this, and then I might even switch over and grab some of this type of grass. And again, I'm going to lower down the opacity, and we can kind of stamp this around. I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll create the portal down here. So what do you think would be on the other side of this portal? I think originally we were kind of thinking like a some sort of like Fey realm. So what I can actually do, and this is kind of a cool little functionality thing here, is I can go into, because we have this separate on a separate painting layer. So what I can actually do is just duplicate this. and then switch over to my tabs, and then I can just grab it and bring it over here. I think I'll flip it a little bit. And we'll bring this down to something like that. And I'll go into this effects layer. And to make this exactly the same, what I'll actually do is we can go to reveal area, and I'll just reveal this. Maybe we'll do it a little bit more. We'll do some from the outside as well. So we get the same kind of effect there. Yeah, we could make maybe make this like a stone element down here. Just thinking maybe we could do like a big stone, like Stonehenge kind of place. We could do like some big trees and whatnot, and so we'll do like a stone archway over it and whatnot. But I think what we'll do is we could build it with individual stones, and that would be like this kind of cool like field stone kind of arch. And then we could do like some big monolithic kind of stuff. So that sounds pretty fun. Before we get going too much further, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over into my walls here, and where we have all of our lighting, and I'm going to create a large light in here. And we're going to make it just a little bit. I'm going to drop down the blue on it a little bit. We're going to make it a little bit on the yellow side to make it like some sort of bright sunlight. And we're going to make this completely well lit, right? So we want it to encompass this entire area. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my line of sight all the way around it so that it doesn't interfere with anywhere else. It shouldn't anyway. Everywhere else is completely... so we'll do something like 20, and we'll do dim of like 25. And then we can turn our... well, we can, as you can see, this is completely... but it's going to illuminate the outside of these walls. So what we can do is we can switch back over, and I'm just going to grab, I'll do it with this tool here. I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm just going to snap right to the grid here. Whoop, missed that one a little bit. Perfect. Now we can go back into our painting area over here, and I'm going to start to do like some low, maybe some ground plants and whatnot before we start to build all of this other stuff. I just want to kind of have an idea about where things are going to be right now. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to type in ground plant. We have some nice ones here. Switch back over to my stamp tool. We'll grab this. I'm going to make it a bit smaller here. And again, I'm also going to lower down the opacity. And this is just going to add another layer of texture here. Nice. Let's go all the way up. And I guess we probably should start to build And I'm going to do that on the wall layer. So this is where I'm going to build like my structures, and then I have a painting layers that's higher than that I can do trees above it if I wish. Um, so we can actually do the same kind of thing that we did with some of the other elements. So if I just type in maybe stone, let's see what pops up here. I can use like a stone fill and create. We also have some of these like altars and stuff. We have a lot of like these things from. Oh, we could use like these from like the jungle map pack as well. There's just lots of, or like one of these like stone floors we can use. I guess it depends on how we want it to. Yeah, why don't we use something like this? This is from the new Western map pack. Or we could use something like this. I think this is from the cemetery. Lots of options here. Why don't we actually type in fill? And we could also do it with something like, I'm going to switch back over here. And let's go into, oh, actually we could use our line tool here. And I'm just going to, nope, we don't want it for stroke. We want it for fill. And then I'm going to type in floor. And these should all work as well. We want to use something. We might do something like that. Let's try, let's do some experiments here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little bit of a black line on it, like we do with most of our images here, and something about the same size. So what I can actually do over here to make monolithic type elements is I'm going to use my line tool, and I can actually just start to draw out shapes. And then by adding in different kind of elements and whatnot, I'm able to create these in lots of different ways here. So we're going to try a couple of these and see which ones kind of work the best for us here. So I'm going to grab this one. Yeah, I kind of like this. What do you guys think? Or maybe we could do a more traditional kind of gray one. I think we'll make the line a little bit smaller. Do you guys think we should go with a darker gray or something a little bit lighter? It's a little bit interesting, huh? What we can actually do is select these and we can simplify the strokes here if we want more rigid kind of shapes. The brownish one? You think we should go with that, Spencer? Great. So all I'm going to do is, all I have to do is grab this little guy and I can select that and it's going to get that all set up for me. I can now switch over and we can just kind of delete these. And what I'm actually going to do is, like I said, we'll delete this one too, actually. We'll make that line a little bit smaller. And I think what we'll do is we can kind of create, maybe we'll do an ellipse. We'll do a large thing like this. Whoops. Let's make it larger. And then we can erase out all of the bits that we don't want. Right, so what we can do is we can go into subtraction, and maybe what we'll do is we'll subtract. Again, I can hold down Control and snap to the grid. We can go into our eraser. We can start to erase out sections. You might want to fix some of these. A little bit too jagged here. This way we're going to create lots of neat shapes. We could even come in and begin to, well, we can use our line tool. But this way they're all going to be in this kind of circle shape already, right? These large megalithic kind of stones. And then we're going to do like highlights and shadows and really bring them to the forefront here. We'll just rough these out here really quickly. I think we'll bring that in a little bit. Grab the eraser and we'll just start to shape these a little bit more. And what we can actually do is, and this is what's so fun about this, is we can, nothing is final, right? We can move these around. Round out some of these edges. Maybe we'll move this over like that. Pull this one in. Get rid of some of these like really straight sections. Nice. And now what we can do is we can go down into these lower, we can start to create some like plants and stuff that's kind of coming out from underneath there. And what we can do too is maybe we'll do, let's do this. Well, let's do it with the ellipse tool here. Create a new one underneath here. And we'll just end that a little bit there. Hey, DJ Break Time. Where we were building a, we did a tavern. Let's with like a basement and then a secret passage into this portal, which is then going to end up over here, where we're going to be building like a nice little kind of monolithic area. And then we'll actually build like a little kind of covering to this. So it's like this cool little area over here. Yeah, very cool. So I'm going to type in plant. We'll start to grab some of these plants here, and we'll switch back over to our stamp tool here. We're going to add some over here. Yeah, like Feywild. Exactly. We might want to change that shape, these shapes a little bit over there, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And I'm just going to stamp out some of these. Maybe we'll do some here, coming up over the edge of this. We could even do a little bit underneath. Let's actually move this one out, move these out a little bit. Yep, this is a feature of Fantasy Grounds Unity, built right in. Let's do some of these as well. Well, no, let's actually just switch over to maybe something that's from an underwater plant. Oh, let's grab some of these. This works really great for kind of going along the sides of these with these roots that are sticking out. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, if you haven't checked it out yet, you definitely should get in and try out some of these painting tools. They're fantastic. I think we'll do some like underneath. grab some of these ones. All right, let's add in some additional kind of stuff here. Let's build this little section up here. So we're going to go onto this painting layer here. And I think I'll grab one of these like columns. Maybe something like this. Well, no, you know what? Let's just build it up with stones. And I think that these all came from, that texture came from the new Western art packs that are going to be coming out. So let's just jump over in there. Here we have some nice rocks. I think we'll widen that out a little bit. I think what I'll actually do is in this, grab one of these things a little bit bigger, but well, actually we can use the same one here that we're using. What I'll do is I'll kind of squash it a little bit. Or maybe what we'll do is we'll do like a large piece that kind of goes over the top. So we have like these rock walls too. Oh yeah, let's use something like this. Perfect. We can actually do some of these like out here as well. And now, before we get going too much further, what we should actually do is do our shadows here. We're going to jump into our adjust colors, into our effects here. We're going to do reveal area here, and We'll create some nice shadows off of these. You can see that this is what's going to make it have a little bit more shape and help us determine like the height of them. We'll make this a much bigger shadow. Like these are tall. I think what we'll actually do too is switch over to the time of day here. And we can create a mask for that. Nope, we didn't want to do that. This one, create a mask. We'll leave that one out. I think we'll actually do some nice bright highlights over here as well. If we come in here, we can create a new effects layer. And again, I'm going to go to an adjust colors, except this time we're going to increase the brightness here a little bit, and the green and the red. And what we'll do is we'll create a mask, and we can add in some nice highlights along some of this. And obviously we're going to blur that out. Brighten this up. Hey, Jiminy. Welcome. I put a little bit on some of these bushes. We'll see if we'll add in some additional kind of stuff in and around. And we can come back down to this one, and I think we'll just add in a little bit here. And maybe what we'll do too is let's go to our wall layer. Just going to fix a couple of these things. Just make it not so jagged. It should be a little bit like worn, don't you think? More rounded. Less of this kind of stuff. Great. And we can do gonna grab maybe something like this. Lower down the opacity of that. Kind of just fade some of this stuff out a little. I think we'll go onto this layer. I was going to type in tree, but that will be a lot of trees. So we'll go into, I think there's some good ones in the abandoned places we could grab. Oh yeah, we could do like some moss on these as well, like these kind of stones. Let's go to some of these trees here. Maybe we'll grab some of these. Oh yeah, it's more stylized, you mean? Yeah, that's what you mean by comical. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Loco. Well, that's kind of a mess there. Let's delete those. Let's grab some different trees. I'm just gonna type in tree. There it is. Yeah, these ones from the desert one are good. And then we'll come back in and add in some additional kind of shadow content for the trees. You know what we should add in is a bunch of ferns and whatnot, I think. I think we might do this for some undergrowth down here. And then we can switch over to our adjust colors. This one is for shadows and the other one is for highlights. And we'll add in some shadows here for our trees. And whenever you're doing this, you want to keep it pretty loose. Nature rarely uh, reacts the way you expect it to, so feel free to kind of just be really unprecise. Back some of this stuff off. Just do it a little bit. We can move in through here. Yeah. Now we can add in a little bit more of additional kind of stuff. Thinking like ferns. And this is the other, let's grab this one. The other great thing about having these layers here is that we can come back in and kind of begin to place these around, poking out from underneath some of this stuff. Over some, on top of others. We can get some over in here. You can see it as we begin to build this up, you get layers and layers on top of each other, and that's what really starts to make these places feel um, more natural. The way that nature works is you get that. You get these building up of layers of this ground stuff and then things on top of it that just exacerbate what's underneath and that kind of stuff. We have some of these larger kind of groupings here that we can do this a little bit faster with. Oh, great, Steve. I'm sure that you will be able to do it in no time flat. The tools are quite intuitive for sure. I think what we'll do is we'll do some of these viney stuff too. Maybe something like these. And if I come back down here, kind of do some of this stuff like underneath. Kind of layered on top of some of these rocks and stuff. I think we'll do some roots and stuff too. Let's grab some of those. Thinking we'll use some of more of these. I think we'll lower down the opacity though. Let's actually grab, what is that? Make them less, more like this, as you can see. Just really subtle. Oh, awesome. I'm glad it worked out. And what we can do is we can layer some stuff on top of this, right? Like Let's grab some more. That's a good plant too. Yeah, something like this, I think. Let's make those a little bit lighter too. I'm going to lower down the opacity so they're just kind of what I'm actually going to do is let's type in grass. We'll grab some grass and I'm going to actually use it as like moss, and we'll put some on top of these rocks here. I think we'll use maybe this one. Maybe this one. Gotta make sure that I grab the right ones here. Lowered that opacity down quite a lot. We might even want to make it a little bit darker. Well, those aren't quite working the way I want them to. Let's let's try a different one with a little bit more texture to it, probably. Yeah, this will work better, I think. And again, I'm going to lower down the opacity some. Yeah, that's much better. And maybe we'll even make it a little bit browner in spots. And I'm not going to do all of them, but we'll just do a couple here. Nice. What else do you think we should add? Oh, you know what we should maybe we should do like a little pool of water here in the middle. What do you guys think? So what I can do is grab one of these water textures here. Oh, thanks so much. Maybe we'll grab this one. We'll go back into our fill area over here. And we'll turn the stroke off. We'll do a circle here. And we'll do it right on the floor level down here. Well, maybe we'll do it a little. Well, let's create its own layer so that we can put it somewhere in here. And I'm just going to drag out a circle, something like this. And then I can go into my fill here. I'm going to actually rotate this a little bit. And we can change the size, shrink that down a little bit. We'll fade off the edges here a little. And we'll even drop down the opacity a little bit here. And we can move it. Maybe make it here. Yeah, like a fairy pool, right? And what we can do is we can come back into our water element here, and we can just go into our effects layer, and we can maybe we'll make the edges a little bit less. Yeah, what we can do now, we have this here. We could do like little plants in the water and stuff, right? Like floating on it. I wonder if I have any lily pads. Nope. I'll have to make some, but we'll definitely have. I wonder. I think that if I type in plant, we do have some. Uh, we have a lot of like underwater plants. But I'll have to do some more. But we can grab maybe something like this. And then we can go into our water effects layer here. We can remove these guys from it. And we might even want to blur that out a little bit so it's. Yeah, the water does work really well for that. For doing like flame, I use the water stuff all the time, and many of the other ones as well to do create it. It works really good on like misty, smoky stuff as well, just to add a little bit of motion to it. So I think the last thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in here in this last painting layer here. We'll grab, make sure I'm in my stamp tool here. And I'm going to make this dark. I'll make it a little bit blue though. And I'm going to drop down the opacity of it quite a lot. I'm just going to add in a little bit in through here, just to add in a little bit more. And I should actually probably do a little bit underneath as well. Maybe just do some of these little bits here and there. Add a little bit of additional kind of variety. We'll even do like some really large ones. I think we'll do some that kind of pop out from underneath these rocks. Give them a little bit more separation from the ground underneath. Oh, that's awesome, AJ. Sounds really cool. And what I'm actually going to do here too is I'm going to do a little bit on this edge, this water. I'm going to make it feel a little bit more indented. And then on this edge, we can go into this adjust colors and do along this edge. And that will give it that little bit of a feel that it's like a little bit of an indent there. We could even do like some stones and stuff around it. We could do all kinds of stuff, but yeah, very cool. So we have our tavern that goes down into the basement. Then we have a hidden door that goes into this secret portal that then takes you into some sort of Feywild little pocket dimension or something. Who knows what lurks there? Great. Do you think we should add anything else to this, or should we call this one a finished product? No, thanks. All right, well, I'm going to take a quick break. It's 4:30, so I'm just going to refresh my. Yeah, I put all of these up onto the forge. So if you look for Smiteworks on the Forge, you'll see that there are like map packs there. I have a bunch that are ready to go up. There was a couple of issues that I had to get squared away, but that should all get done this weekend. So everything that we create, go up on the Forge. You can download them for free. You do need to have access to our art subscription or the art packs because there's no actual image information. It's just the metadata. Yeah, definitely. All right, well, I'm going to take a really quick break and I'll be right back. I'm just going to refresh my beverages and stretch for a moment, and then we'll start on a new project. So everyone just hang out and I'll be right back. Thanks, everybody. All right, and we're back. Oh yeah, we can definitely do a desert environment. I think that's great, especially with the Dune being recently released. We can. I think it's a wonderful idea to do some desert stuff. We'll do that next. But before we jump into that, let's move a character through these environments set up as like how the players would see it. I think that sounds like a good idea. So we'll jump over. We'll grab our buddy Bob here. Let's drop him in here. We'll switch back over to the play session here. We can kind of see what Bob sees as he maneuvers through our little environment here. We can open up the door. And why don't we give Bob a token light? We'll give him a, what should we give him? Candle. I think that's good. And he can go down the stairs. And then that's going to, we'll switch out of that for a moment. What we'll do is, if you guys are unfamiliar with this, if I grab him, I can't move him through a wall unless I hold Shift as the GM. And then I can place him right on top of the stairs over here. We can go back into full-on view here, and you can see this will be him as he explores the basement. And the kind of fog of war gets removed as he explores these dark areas. Now, as a player, he won't be able to see that this is any different of a wall. So, but I can open that up from him, and he can make his way into the portal here. And again, I can just grab Shift, and we can move him right over, and he can emerge from the portal and explore all of these environments. Great. Very cool. I think it works rather well, and we can shut that down, and we can create a new image here. Yeah, we've done a few desert ones in the past. Um, it looks like this one needs to be adjusted. But we can jump in and create, especially with the new Western art packs that are coming out, uh, and um, and with the Dune release, I think that's a great idea. So what kind of desert environment should we make? Oh, thanks. Yeah, the Avernus one. Yep. We did a few of those as well. We did this hellish forest a while ago as well, right? Which is fun. Yeah, outdoor no structures, that's fine. Do you want it to be more sandy? You want to have some like rocky elements? Uh, what what's the sort of interesting environmental aspect are we going to be? Yeah, sure. Well, there's a whole bunch of different ways that we can kind of approach this too, right? So if we go into, oh yeah, we could do like a large, like a pit for sure. So we have some nice like fill textures that we can use, and we also have there's a lot of different ways that we can kind of interact with this. And if we go into the actual desert map pack, we have lots of different tiles. Oh yeah, nope. Oh, dark sun, that's cool. So why don't we create a new image? I'm just going to right click and create an item. We'll call this Desert Sands. And let's go into, we'll go into the Desert Art Pack here. And we have a whole bunch of different ones here. So what I'm actually going to do is we'll switch over into this. We can close down our image record here. And what I'll do is I'll immediately go into my grid system here. I'm going to make it 100 by 100. And then we'll lower this down a little bit. Go into our painting layer. I'm going to turn the stroke off and we'll add our sand. Do you want to do it mostly sand? Like mostly sands? All right, well, let's start off with mostly sand here. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hold down Control so I can snap to my grid. And I'm just going to drag out a nice big section of sand here. Right? And we'll call this ground base because we're going to add in a whole bunch of different layers and whatnot, right? I'm going to actually come over here. Instead of having this here, I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm going to change this and we can change the size. Let's make the sand dunes a bit bigger. We'll move this around, something like that. Yeah, we'll do a sand pit for sure. And this is just going to be our base, which we're going to kind of build things up on top of. And we can do this lots of different ways. Here we can go into our decorations, and here we have a bunch of different already pre-made rock formations and whatnot. Yeah, so once you get into once you use a fill selection, right? So when you do this, we can switch over to our edit fill, and here I can rotate this. I can change the size of the actual texture itself. So to make it a little bit more interesting, I holding down Control and using my mouse wheel to change the size of the fill. Hold down Shift and use my mouse wheel, and I can change the rotation of the fill. And then I can just drag and move this around to whatever I think is going to be the most appropriate. So for a little bit more of an interesting kind of interaction here, what I'm going to do is put them at an angle rather than being completely horizontal, as you can see, and then I'm just going to change the size to make them a bit bigger. Yeah, so if you click on, once you're in the painting area, if you use your fill, go to the Edit Fill tab, and then you'll see all of the different functionalities are listed here. So we have left click to drag image, Shift and mouse wheel to rotate, controlled mouse wheel to scale, and we can also change the color even after the fact. And we can fade in the edges. This has been released within the last few weeks, yes. These new functionalities, especially like this whole fill element, all brand new stuff here. You can even fade in the edges of the fill itself. So now that I have this, we can actually do a whole bunch of different stuff. And one of the fun things is if we go into the winter art pack, actually, um, the way that the system works inside of Fantasy Grounds is it's always additive. Because the snow elements are very similar to this, we can change its color to match it very, very easily, right? So if we go into our decorations, for example, and we have lots of these snow elements, which could very easily be used as sand. So if you want to build up certain elements from here, you can easily do it, right? So all I'd have to do is grab something like this. We can go into the stamp tool here, and I'll grab my tint, and we'll select something like this. So as you can see here, we might want to lower down the opacity a little bit. And we'll create a new painting layer. But as you can see here, I can kind of snap these. Yeah, that's right. But you can see that this will match up the colors exceptionally well here. Because we can actually, let's turn that off. Grab any of these. We'll go with some of these lighter ones. You can use these in many, many different areas here. So if we go into yeah, just have that. Our effects, for example, here, we have some really nice ones, and these are going to work in much the same way as the natural sand ones. So feel free to use all of the different elements. Yep, so all you have to do, there's two different ones now. So the way that this works here, I'll stamp something here. We have this one, which is sample settings from Paint Object. So what you can actually do is re-pick up images that you've used in the previously, as you can see here. But you have your tint one, and the tint eyedropper here will actually collect any color value that you click over, right? So we can go to here, for example, and that will set that color value. Now that's additive. So whatever you kind of use it with, right? So for example, if let's hit OK there. Let's grab this guy, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just move it over or whatever, and click it there. Now if I stamp, I can hit OK there. I should clear that out before I do that. But what I can actually do is grab this, and now I can pick up this if I wanted to use it again. And it's going to grab all of that information, the opacity, the color change, everything that I did there. So you can do some nice, cool kind of variations in that. I'm going to delete that. Let's go into our desert map pack here. And we'll go into our decorations. We have a whole bunch of things. And in our effects, we have some of these elements too that are all set up with the sand and some rocks and whatnot. So what we can actually do is kind of grab in here. And what I like to do in these kind of circumstances, I'm going to stay on this layer here for a moment, is create these large ones and then come in here and I can stamp in some smaller variations. And this is going to make this seem a little bit more natural. And we can do some like nice kind of cool, interesting shapes. Let's see how that breaks that up and you get these nice kind of um, separations between some of these smaller sand creations and some larger ones. Now inside of the desert map pack here, we can go right into our decorations and we can just start to grab, and you can do this a couple of different ways. You could just drag and drop these rocks right out here to create some new elements. We even have some rather large rock outcroppings. We have some that have foliage made right into them. But I like to paint them out most of the time, and we can also use some of these nice rock kind of fill textures as well. So we can come back in here. Let's create a new painting layer, and we want to grab maybe something like this, and make sure our stroke is off. And maybe I'll grab the line tool here, create a new element here, and I'm just going to start to kind of draw this out here. So make sure that that's off. Yes. Let's see here. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Let me close this down really quick and reopen it. Turn off our stroke, and we'll fill in our fill here. We'll make some nice rock kind of patches, and we can add to this as well. Create whatever shape we want. Maybe we'll do another one over here. And now what we can do the same thing. We can change the scale of this. We can rotate it around. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fade out these edges a bit. Now I can come over in here and where there's might want to need to adjust some of this stuff. And I can actually click on this, and if I wanted to, I could simplify the strokes here to make it a little bit easier for me to manage. And I think we'll do it over here too. And so now we've created this, and what I can actually do is I can double click this and move the whole element around. And I can come back down here. Some of these smaller bits, I might want to move it out. And now let's go into our decorations, and I can grab some of these rocks now. Let's grab some of this other stuff. So we'll call this ground stone, and we'll create a new painting layer. I think they're just called points now, Svenster. if we go into here, I think it just says delete selected points. But they're basically the same kind of interactive process as the occluders. You'll grab some of these like stone walls. We can build out like a stone kind of structure here. Not structure, but natural kind of formation. And I'm actually going to layer this on top of it here a little bit. We can flip it. And we can grab some of these other elements here. What I like to do is just kind of build this stuff up in like these kind of layers. Maybe we'll put something over here. We'll make it a little smaller. Make some of these rock formations kind of like popping up out of the sand here. Then we have some places like this. But here's the really cool thing about the system is I can come back into here and let's say I want to make this larger. Maybe I want to move it in here. Maybe we'll pull this back so that we get a little bit of like sand like build up on that edge where the wind has blown it in there. One of the things I like to do when I'm creating these places is create like some sort of narrative of why things are the way that they are. I think it helps with some of that stuff. And I can create a new layer. We'll put it underneath these larger rocks, and maybe we'll grab some of this stuff. We can do some of this kind of like, we'll make them smaller too. Neat. You can see how quickly you can start to build these environments up, right? And we can start to build any of this up into any sort of system that we want here. But we'll jump right in and we'll create a new effects layer. We'll do an adjust colors, and this time instead of going to the blue side, I think I'm going to make it a little bit red. So we're going to make it a little bit darker. We'll drop down the blue and the green. So we'll have these like really warm kind of shadows. These are from the desert art pack, the desert map pack. And then there's a desert ruins as well, which has all kinds of, which I can show you that one as well. But now I'm going to create a mask, and we'll blur that right out. And we'll just come right in through here. And what we'll do is we'll kind of adjust this a little bit. We're going to bring down the red just a little. I just want it to be a little bit on the warm side because there's so much reflection from the surrounding reddish kind of environment. And what we can actually do is we can come in here and do some adjustments on these. And we might want to blur that out even all the way. But probably actually the cast shadows will be more. So why don't we can actually do something a little different. But I like to come in here and do some off of this as well. It makes it feel like that there's a little bit more structure there. Like kind of goes in and out. And we can create a new adjust colors layer here. And it'll be very similar to the one before. We'll just drop down this, but it'll be much less. We'll create that mask. What we can do is we can kind of come in and emphasize these a little bit more if we want to make that dune feel as though it's like much more. Take control of the shapes here a little bit. And then you can adjust it here. Let's make it something like yeah, something like that. I think it's good. So this is the desert map pack. And then there is the desert ruins. So here there's all kinds of cool different ruins elements. Treasure. Lots of stone work and whatnot. There's a lot of really cool elements in this. You can really build some really cool stuff. Oh, that sounds really fun, actually. Yeah, like create like a medieval version of like a something like that. I think that that sounds awesome. And we probably won't have time to do that today, but we'll create this environment. But we can start that next week if you want to, for sure. So let's create one more effects layer here, and I'm going to do this for highlights. And I'm just going to go in the other direction, and we'll make it a little bit yellow. And this is probably a little bit too much. Let's change that all to something like this. And again, we'll create a mask. And then we can kind of come along these edges, kind of blur that out. Oh yeah, like a spice harvester. And now we can adjust this to whatever we think it's going to be. And maybe something along those lines. And we can blur this out as much as we want for these particular elements. I think we'll do it just like on these ridges here, where it kind of will be the highest points like this. You can see that that really works really well creating those highlights. Yeah, worm sign. And we can even do the same thing for this side of some of these dunes, right? So we can come in. You can see how that really feels like that there's like sun blasting down on it. You might want to blur it out even a little bit more. Maybe here. And so what I would do is I would create a new painting layer and we put it down here. Call this one shadows. Okay, so that's a good question. And the question is, how do you know if an image is useful for a fill? We have a new tag for specific images called for fill, but also most floors and grounds will work. I went back and redid them for all the things, so they should all work exceptionally well for your fill elements. So if we were to go here, for example, and you type in the word fill, you're going to get all kinds of different elements that I specifically made for fills. That if there was an art pack that I felt as though there was any sort of useful texture in there, I created them as fills. And then if you type in, let's say, for example, floor, all of the floors now should work as fill elements. Not blood on the floor, obviously, but all of these. These are all able to be used now as well. So they should just be able to work. If you run into one that doesn't, just let me know and I'll get it squared away. Also, most of the appropriate tiles I made as well work, as well as background images. So ones that are like, not these ones specifically, but let's say we go into the 2019 art pack. These tiles, these all work as well. Things like this. And then so anytime that there was an appropriate image in an art pack that should work as a fill, I went back and made sure that they would work. Like all of these ones from the desert art pack, all of these grass ones. They're all seamless textures now. All of these ones from the desert. Now these ones that are divided obviously are not going to work but all of these solid ones will work, and then you can match these up perfectly with them as well. All of the snow ones and so on and so forth. Yeah, you're very welcome. All right, so I'm going to grab, let's go back into our painting tab here on the shadows one. I'm going to switch over to my stamp tool, and I'm going to grab this, and I'm just going to switch this down and maybe do that. Well, let's make it actually maybe something like this. Lower down the opacity, and I'm going to make that pretty big, and I'm just going to kind of stamp this underneath here a little bit. That might be a little bit too much. Spread that out a little. Lower down the opacity a little bit more. And then I like to paint in some of this stuff. It'll just add in a little bit more. That feeling that these objects have shape to them, have actual physical dimension. We can paint some in some of these areas. And then like in here, you don't have to get too crazy, but it is fun to kind of just come in here and start to work around, adjust some of these things. And we can even come in and do some of these. One of the great things you can do is turn off their aspect log ratio and make it kind of like oblong. Add a little bit of additional elements there. And we can make it background really easily. All right, now we can create, maybe what we'll do is I can come back down to my base and we can just grab these and I'll just drag this down a little bit. And we'll do like a sinkhole here. Yep, that's absolutely correct. Certainly could. Absolutely. So let's make a hole here. Do you think that the hole will be like you just want to do like the sand, like kind of coming down into like an actual hole? We can do it a bunch of different ways here. Yeah, you're very welcome. I think what I'll do is I'll start off. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. I think what I'll do is I'll start off by just using, yeah, sinkhole. We can add in a nice little element here. Let's put the sinkhole, let's actually make this a little bit bigger. Bring this down a little bit. we'll do it like here. And what we can do here is add a little bit of a highlight along the edge here. I'll actually go into my shadows layer here. Well, you know what we could actually do? We could do it with another effects layer pretty easily, I think. Maybe we should paint it in though. Because we're gonna have to, we want to smooth out the sand around the edge and kind of bring it in. So yeah, we'll paint it in. So in the shadows area here, oh, the white dots, if we go into here, these are the images themselves, the stamped images. So if I were to come here, for example, I could move this rock around. So these are all of the different images that I have painted in here. So I think I can just grab this guy. And what I'll do is I'm going to increase my opacity. Yep, that's new too. And now what I can do with this here, like this, is I can go back into my desert art pack. Nope, not decals. And I'll grab something like, actually, you know what I'll do? Because I want to smooth this out. I want to use this too, but I want to smooth this out. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to reset this. And I'm going to grab color of surrounding area here. Maybe something like this. Oh yeah, you can. You can. Well, you can't really tint the cloud effect, but what you can do is do another adjust colors layer on top of it. But you can also do lots of really cool stuff too. I'll show you some neat tricks that you can kind of do here in a moment. But yeah, you're right on the right track there. I'm just going to lower down the opacity of this and put it to a very similar kind of color here. And on this this layer here, I'm just going to kind of fade out some of the surrounding to make it a little bit smoother. We can lower this down a bit more. To kind of get that feeling that the sand is like pouring in, and then what we'll do is we'll use some of this to add in some new texture going in the right direction. And we'll even layer some on top of this. We can lower down this quite a lot to make it seem like that there is sand down here at the bottom too. Like it's just, you can just barely see like that bottom. And then what we can do is come here to something like this. And what I want to do is I want to have this kind of like streaming down. So let's lower down the opacity a little bit more. And you can see I'm just going to paint this stuff in. So it's kind of getting that feeling like everything is kind of pouring towards the center here. We might even want to make these ones a little bit, let's just delete that one. Move this one in the center like that. And what we can do is, because this is on like our shadow layer, right? If we wanted to, we could actually come in here and adjust this. Might want to just make it a little bit, maybe something like that. Yeah, so what we can do, let's create a new layer here, and we'll go into our clouds, make a cloud layer like this. And so what we can actually do is we're going to put this down here. So I'm actually gonna make a duplicate of this so I can kind of show you what you can do. We can let's increase this all the way up, and I'm gonna keep it moving pretty good there. Let's create a mask, and we'll just put it right here. And then this ground base, I'm gonna duplicate it, and let's put it right above it. And then what I'm gonna do is lower down the opacity of this. And maybe we'll do something like that. But what we can do is move back into here, and now we can kind of adjust these, see what we want here. Maybe we put these all the way up. Maybe we put it down. No, we won't want to keep it something like that. I'd probably just keep it down something like here. Yeah, I'd probably keep it down like this level. I wonder if there's another effects that would work. I wonder if we could use, yeah, let's try some different stuff here. Let's experiment. We could do like heat. I wonder if it would be better to do like ocean. Oh, do you? Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like a nice little like heat roll across. I'd probably keep it down in underneath that stuff. I'd say that's a little intense. Yeah, we could use the snow for like slow drifting. Yeah, fun. Might even want to put like a couple of rocks around this as well. That might be kind of cool. Maybe we'll do some smaller ones like this. Hmm, can't seem to grab it. It's all right. We'll just do this. Awesome. All right. Do you guys have any other questions? Or is there anything else that I can kind of help you with as we kind of wind down here at the end? No, unfortunately, there's the tokens will always be on the top layer. That's a hard coded in kind of thing. So you can't have effects above a token. Yeah, you bet. Absolutely. You're very welcome. So next week we're gonna make like a big rig machine in a desert location. I think that sounds super fun. Yeah, I think so too. I think that that's one of the great features of this is you can adjust all of that stuff. Oh yeah, thanks for hanging out, Jiminy. All right, guys. Well, if there's no other questions or if there's nothing else that I can help you with today, we'll be calling it here. So thanks again, everyone, for coming and hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. We'll be back next Saturday or this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and we run until about 5:30 or 6, depending on what we're working on and how it goes. Oh yeah, that's true, Drake. I think so too, Jiminy. Yep, and tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern is Fabled Dice, so make sure you guys check that out as well. So great, everyone. Thanks, everyone, and we did a couple of great maps today. We did finished up the Tavern one we started last week with the hidden portal in the basement. Let's and then we started working on some desert stuff. Super fun. Awesome, everybody. Well, thank you again, and we will see you all next time. Have a great week.